Hello, welcome to Benjamin Tree. Today we will be looking at the Excel functions left, right, and mid. These are functions that are used to manipulate text. When you use these functions, it will pull out a certain number of characters from a text and display it into the cell that you are using. So let's look at this list of presidents' names that we have. And our goal today is to, in the B column, pull out the first names, and the C column, pull out the middle names, and the D columns, pull out the last names. So let's start with our second most recent president, George Walker Bush. We have already finished doing Barack Hussein Obama. As you can see, we use these different functions to pull out his name, the different parts of his name. So let's start with George Walker Bush, and we are going to use the first of these three functions, left. So remember, to start a function, we use the equal sign, and then we're going to put the function name of left in. So we type in left, and to start the function, we need to put in our first parentheses. Okay, so now you can see this function is asking us to give them the text that we want to use. In this case, our text is going to be located A3. So click over, and we have chosen the text we want this function to use. So now that we selected it, let's put a comma in, and now this function is asking how many characters does it need to display. So let's look at George Bush. George Bush, when we look at the first name, George, that is 6 characters long. George. So let's put in the number 6, and we're going to close this function. We put in our last parentheses, and let's hit enter to see what happens. So in this example, the function equals left, parentheses A3 comma 6, close parenthesis, returns the value of George. Now we're going to move on to the last name because the function right is a bit easier than the function middle. We'll save the hardest one for last. So what happens is right is the same as left, but instead of starting on the left side of the text, it starts on the right side. So we're going to start our function and hit equals. Next, we're going to type in the function name of right, and we're going to start it with a parenthesis. Again, it's asking us what text does it want us to use. We're going to be using A3 again, the comma, how many characters. So now we're starting from the right, and we're going to count back. How many characters is Bush? B-U-S-H, that's 4. So here it's counting from the H, H-S-U-B, that's 4 characters, but it's going to print out the text in the correct order. So let's put 4 in here and close the parentheses, and we hit enter, and we get the word Bush. All right, so let's move on to the next one is going to be the middle names. This is a little bit harder, but not too difficult. So we want to pull out the word Walker from George Walker Bush. So let's take a look here. The formula that we want to use is going to be mid. So let's start the function with equals. We're going to type in mid, and we have our parentheses. So again, it's asking us what text are we going to use, and like always for this line, we're going to go over to A3. Next, we're going to have a comma, but this time it's asking what is the starting number. Left starts at the very first character, right starts at the very last character, but now it's asking which character. So we want to start at this W. If we remember, George is 6 characters. Okay, so we need to figure out where the W is. So we start with 6. The 7th character is that space between George and Walker, and the 8th character will be the W. So we want to start at the 8th character, so we will put number 8 in. We're going to hit a comma here. Now it's going to ask us how many characters does it want. So Walker is 6 characters. So starting with the W, it's going to count 6 characters, and then it's going to produce that when we close this function. So let's take a look. We got Walker. All right, so we've looked at how left, mid, and right work. So, but it's a good function, but we can't just drag down because, as you notice, each name has a different number, and we can't just drag it down or else it's going to give us weird results. So we can't do that. We have to delete it. Now you might be asking, why can't I just copy and paste William, copy, and then Jefferson, copy, paste, and Clinton, copy and paste? You could do this, but what happens is all these little functions, when you start combining them together and together to make very complex functions, you could make functions that will automatically pull these three. It's going to be a little bit complicated, and we're going to look at that later. But for now, we want to get good at this. So that way, if you have a list of 250 people, you take 3 minutes to write the 3 equations, drag the equations down, and then it'll automatically do it for you. So let's practice one more time with William, Jefferson, Clinton. So again, for left, we're going to start with equal, type in left, and asking for the text of A4 and how many characters. William is 2, 4, 6, 7, so we will put 7 in. We close it, and we get the result of William. Let's go to the last name. Type in equals, right, put in the parentheses. What's our text? A4, which is William Jefferson Clinton. Put a comma in. How many characters? Starting from the right, it's going to count we want to count the number of characters in Clinton, C-L-I-N-T-O-N. That is going to be 7. So let's type in 7, and we get the result of Clinton. Okay, so let's look at Jefferson here. We want to pull out Jefferson, so let's put the equation, the function mid, and we're going to start it. We're going to choose the text of A4. And our starting character, if we remember, William was 7 characters long. The space is the 8th character, so the J is starting on the 9th character. So let's start there. And the number of characters, Jefferson is 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. It's 9 characters long, so let's put 9 in and close the function, and bam, we get Jefferson. So now you can see how to use the functions left, right, and mid. These are basic functions, and we'll look at how to use them in more complex functions later on. So go ahead and download the Excel file. You'll have Barack Obama, George Bush, and Bill Clinton completed, and you can go ahead and complete pulling the first, middle, and last names of all the other presidents. When you finish, come down to Answer Key, and you can check to make sure you have the same type of function input, and you can make sure that everything's correct. Or if you're having a problem, look at the answer key, compare it to yours, and figure out what the mistake is, and see if you can figure out how to make it better. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to post. Thank you for listening to Benjamin Tree, and we hope you learned something today.